This is the Well Body Podcast with your host, Renee, the place where everyday women learn how to stop running on empty, reset their energy, nourish their bodies, and feel strong again. Let's get into it. Picture this. You wake up feeling energized. Your stomach feels calm, flattish, not tight, not uncomfortable, not bloated. You eat meals that leave you feeling satisfied, nourished, clear-headed. You're not constantly thinking about food, not obsessing over numbers, not feeling guilty after eating. You feel strong in your body. You trust your body. You feel grounded in your choices. Fat loss, if that is your goal, feels steady, supportive, and sustainable. Not extreme, not stressful, not all-consuming, just consistent, because your body feels safe. This is what happens when we stop approaching fat loss from a place of restriction and start supporting the body first. Welcome back to the Gut Health series. In the last episode, we talked about why weight is not just about calories and how gut health, inflammation, digestion, and stress all influence how the body feels and responds. Today, we're talking about tracking calories because tracking calories can absolutely be a helpful tool, but it's not the only tool. And it is definitely not the foundation of health. Many women try to enter fat loss phases while their body is already exhausted, stressed, inflamed, undernourished, and overwhelmed. And they wonder why it feels so damn hard. Because the truth is, a nourished body responds very differently to change compared to a depleted body. And this is where we need to move beyond the idea of if it fits your macros is fine. Because technically, many foods can fit your macros, but not all foods support your gut health, energy, hormones, or long-term well-being. Fat loss is not just about hitting numbers. It's about creating an internal environment where your body can function well. So today, I'm going to walk you through a very practical, step-by-step process to support your gut before entering a fat loss phase. Step 1. We need to actually stabilize your meals because before we reduce calories, we want to create consistency first. The body thrives on rhythm. Irregular eating patterns can disrupt your blood sugar stability, your energy levels, digestion, hunger hormones, stress hormones, and skipping too many meals often lead to stronger hunger later, energy crashes, overeating, poor food choices, and feeling out of control around food, especially when you don't eat much in terms of nutrient-dense foods and you choose to eat things that are starchy. So, for example, if you start your day with a coffee and a scone, that may seem like a small start to the day, but it's very low in nutrients and probably very high energy or high calories. So if you just had that and then you didn't eat all day and then you got home and you binge ate on sugar because you were so hungry and because your blood sugar levels were up and down, up and down, up and down because you had no protein and fiber and fats to anchor that meal, then that's when we find the skipping the meals can really lead to strong hunger later, energy crashes, overeating, poor food choices, etc. So what you actually need to start with in step 1 is having 3 meals per day or 3 meals and 1 snack, depending on how active you are, the type of person you are. So an example structure could literally be that you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you have that optional snack if you want. If you're someone who exercises a lot, that optional snack might be something that you have before you work out or after you work out. So you want to aim to eat every 3 to 5 hours. And when you're eating balanced meals, you shouldn't feel so hungry in between. Because when we have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe that optional snack, and we aim to eat every 3 to 5 hours, we help regulate ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, insulin, the blood sugar hormone, and cortisol, the stress hormone. Consistency with your food and eating meals builds safety in the body. And when the body feels safe, it's more responsive to change and you feel less inflamed. So step 1, you need to stabilize your meals and get consistent with eating balanced meals first. And if you're overwhelmed by just having 3 meals, then just have 3 meals without changing anything first and build on that habit, because then moving into step 2, where you build balanced meals, is a lot easier and less overwhelming. So with step 2, rather than focusing only on calories, focus on building meals that support the body. So each meal should aim to include protein, which supports muscle mass, metabolism, satiety, blood regulation. And examples of protein are things like eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, chicken, tofu, legumes, tempeh, lentils, sometimes some beef and lamb protein powder. Fiber, you then need to anchor the protein with some fiber, which feeds beneficial gut bacteria. And this is important because it's going to support digestion and fullness and how you feel overall. Examples are things like vegetables, fruit, oats, legumes, whole grains, chia seeds, flax seeds. Now, some of the foods that I mentioned are also counted as protein, which makes them even more nutrient dense, because if a food contains protein and fiber combined, it is an absolute superfood because you're getting more bang for your buck. You're getting protein and fiber, which is why things like legumes and chia seeds and some nuts and seeds, those types of plant-based proteins are so healthy because you are getting protein and you are getting fiber, and they're incredible for helping you to manage your blood sugar levels, feel full, and getting enough nutrients in. Then we want to support our protein and our fiber with some healthy fats, because healthy fats support hormones, brain function, satiety, which means, staying full, and also nutrient absorption. Certain vitamins need fats. So it's important not to skip out on the fats. Things like olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, egg yolks, fatty fish. And then we have carbohydrates, which provide energy for the brain, nervous system, thyroid, and training performance. Now, carbohydrates also come under the fiber category as well, but we do have things like potatoes, rice, oats, sourdough, fruit, quinoa, which are a source of carbohydrate, but they also contain fiber and some of them protein as well. And something like avocado would be considered a carbohydrate and a fat. So when you're eating more whole foods, you're getting a variety of nutrients. Think color and variety, because that supports the gut microbiome diversity and micronutrients. So we want to aim for protein, fiber, healthy fat, carbohydrate, and color. So instead of removing foods or chasing the lowest calorie option possible that has all the marketing signs on it like high fiber, high protein, I would really like you to focus on eating nutrient-dense foods and adding to what you're already doing so it's less overwhelming. Generally, just eating a lowest calorie version of everything often leads to feeling unsatisfied, which then increases your cravings later. So think about what you can get more bang for your buck on your plate. Fiber's going to keep you full, fats are going to keep you full, protein's going to keep you full, eating enough carbohydrates are going to keep you full. Comparing all these, having all these foods together is going to make you feel incredibly satiated. And that, in turn, should keep you going for 3 to 5 hours before needing another meal, because the meal that you did have was incredibly nutrient dense, which means having 3 meals a day is quite easy because the meals that you are having are so full. I've been giving my husband like all of my legume fuel and salads and things like that with some salmon. And I've been making all of his meals lately because he's just been so busy with work. And I mean, I'm a nutritionist and I do it for a living. So I've just been making his food too. And he's like, I'm getting home and having dinner and I'm like, oh my God, I actually don't want to eat any more food. I am so full from all the food that you're making me. I feel like I'm eating, I'm sick of food. Do you know what I mean? So if he's having that response from increasing his nutrient diversity because his wife told him to, it's amazing what it can do for you too when you're eating more like that. And I get to dinner sometimes and I'm like, I don't even need dinner. I'm just going to have a little bowl of yogurt with some blueberries because I am so full from the huge amount of fiber I consumed at breakfast and lunch. And that's okay because the body only needs what the body needs. And if we just keep shoving it in because we're trying to hit a number and we're genuinely full and we're genuinely satisfied and our meals were following that plate structure, that's okay. There are some benefits to having meal breaks in between meals. We don't always need to be constantly snacking. We need to actually give our digestive system a break, and having those fasted breaks in between where we're just hydrating with water is incredibly beneficial. So moving on to step 3, we want to move beyond the if it fits your macros. So if it fits your macros, you might see this labeled as IIFYM, can be helpful for flexibility and it can be helpful for incorporating the foods that you really love and you don't want to give up. And we don't want to give up anything we love. It's not about that. but sometimes it encourages the mindset that food quality doesn't matter. For example, a chocolate bar and a balanced meal may both fit your macros, but they do not impact satiety, blood sugar, gut bacteria, micronutrients, energy levels, and hormone health in the same way. This does not mean we avoid all the fun foods or the soul foods, what I call them. It means we aim for a foundation of nutrient-dense foods most of the time. So a helpful question to ask is, does this meal support my energy? Does this meal support my digestion? Does this meal help me feel satisfied? And we want macros, yes, and micronutrients, calories and nourishment, flexibility and structure. Because when we have the combination of both, we're supporting our health in such a positive way. We cannot continue to feel good if we're constantly filling our daily calories with just junk food, to be honest. If we have every meal from a packet and every snack from a packet, it's not going to support our blood sugar. That's going to make you crave more sugar in the afternoons, or it's going to make you feel like you've had that energy crash. It's not going to support your gut health. And we know now how important gut health is. And when you're not supporting your good gut bacteria and the good gut bacteria aren't thriving, that's going to impact your mental well-being, how you feel in your body's inflammation, how you feel in your joints, how you feel all over. It's so important that we are prioritizing nutrients and nourishment over just what fits our macros. So step 3 is to move beyond the if it fits your macros and focus on nutrient-dense, nourishing foods. That is going to change the game for you. If you're in a fat loss phase and you're currently in a phase where, you're eating, say, 1,800 calories because you're tracking. Some people do their deficits a little bit different where they don't quite track because it doesn't work for them, and that's so fine. But if you are tracking and you are filling your calories with a lot of ultra-processed foods and you just are constantly hungry and you can't seem to feel satiated, you might need to check in on the quality of foods that you're having and just make sure you are getting enough fiber, make sure you are getting some nutrient-dense foods most of the time. You're not just having protein junk, okay? Because that does happen a lot. And that in turn affects the microbiome. Most people feel sluggish, they feel bloated, they feel like they can't digest as well. So we want to make sure that we're trying our hardest to ensure that our food is nutrient-dense and as nutrient-dense as possible. So moving into step 4, this is where we want to support digestion, because digestion is not just about what you eat, it's also how you eat. So you need to ask yourself, do I often feel bloated? Do I rush meals? Do I eat while working or scrolling? Do I feel overly full after meals? Do I experience reflux? Do I feel constipated? So there are some practical tools that you can actually implement to create a more supportive eating environment. We call it mindful eating. And these are a game changer because our bodies are pretty clever. If we were running from a tiger and we were living in the wild in the caveman times and we were running from a saber-toothed tiger, what is going to happen is our fight or flight turns on. And it's like, okay, we've got to get away from this danger. We've got to go. We've got to find some safety. We've got to protect ourselves from being eaten by this thing. We've got to move fast and we have to be alert. So we're on high alert at all times, especially if there's children involved. You're on high alert to make sure those kids don't get eaten too. So when you are on high alert, your digestive system actually turns off because your body's preserving its energy so that you can stay alert and survive, especially if it was late at night and it was nighttime. So the digestive system switches off because the body doesn't need to use the energy to keep the digestive system going. It just needs to focus on staying alert and staying alive so it doesn't get eaten. So when we are constantly running around, rushing around on the go all the time, and we don't take a moment to rest, we humans are naturally lazy mammals. We love rest. We love sleep. We love lounging. Have you seen animals like cats and dogs and tigers and lions and monkeys and all the different animals out there? They don't run around like crazy things like we all do in today's world. They spend a lot of time resting, eating, and they don't eat as much. They just literally rest, eat, go for a run, go for a walk, sniff around, rest, sleep. So because we're living in this go, go, go kind of now world, we need to make sure that we're actually implementing practical tools to create this mindfulness that we actually need when it comes to eating and when it comes to digesting. So sitting down to have meals without any distractions, it's just you and your food and you're present with it. Avoid eating on the run. Scoffing your food and driving is one of the worst things that you can do for your overall digestion and safety. And look, I've been there. When I was in my 20s and I was working here, there, and everywhere, I was definitely guilty for eating oats whilst driving. Yeah, confession, but I think we've all done that. It's because I started work at 5 a.m. and I was on the road and I was like, I'm not going to be able to train all these clients until midday without a single bit of fuel in the tank. So I would eat oats and drive. It was not good. So I am telling you now, from experience, avoid eating on the run. Okay, it's dangerous, silly, but it's also not good for your digestion because you're not actually sitting with your food and just being. Taking 3 deep breaths before eating. Now, these types of deep breaths could be in through the nose and a big restorative sigh out the mouth, just creating a sense of calm and safety in the body. Chewing your food thoroughly is also a really good tool, so making sure you're taking your time to chew and you're not just scoffing and swallowing. I remind my kids of all of these tools as well. I'm trying to cement them into them now. We're never allowed to watch TV or screens when we're eating. It always has to be at the table with no distractions, not even toys. Like, I'm pretty strict when it comes to that because I'm trying to help them build good habits now to support their digestion. Putting your utensils down between bites as well can be a really good way to help you to register that, you're eating and you're taking your time and you're just going to chew and enjoy the tastes and the flavors that come up. There's also a really interesting theory around eating with your hands. So this is something that some people in some countries still do. I know a lot of Indian culture, they do eat with their hands. This goes way back, and this is how we used to eat before utensils were created and before it became rude to eat with your fingers. For some reason, someone created some idea that it was not like ladylike or whatever. But eating with your hands is actually helping you with the whole digestive process. It's helping you to feel the textures, register that you are eating and that eating is happening and your brain is registering with what's happening. So every now and again, I encourage you to use your hands to eat. And I never tell my kids off for using their hands to eat because I think it's incredibly natural. And why is it that kids want to do these things naturally, but then we're telling them it's so rude and it's so not okay? I honestly think there is a method to that. I think there's a method to a lot of things that kids do. We can look at them and study how they move and how they eat and how they play and how they are. And we can actually learn a lot about what it actually means to be human because I feel like we've lost that somewhere along the way. Anyway, we're talking about digestion, so I'm not going to go on a tangent, but just, trying to use your hands a little bit more, putting your utensils down between bites, slow the pace of meals. So slow down and then reduce distractions where possible, which is what I mentioned before. So just no screens, no TV. If you want to have something in the background, have some nice jazz music or something. Like, when you go to one of those nice fancy cafes, like I'm in Auckland, right? So if you were in Ponsonby and you went to a nice cafe and it's just got that beautiful jazz kind of vibe in the background, that to me is like the best ambience when you're eating food. Or you're in an Italian restaurant and you just hear like beautiful Italian tunes in the background, just like put some soft, soothing music in the background if you like to have noise. But it's really important that you implement these practical mindfulness tools because when the nervous system is calm, your digestion improves massively. The body can break down food more effectively, okay? You can absorb nutrients more effectively, and you send clearer fullness signals, which is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, is creating enough of that GLP-1 hormone naturally to help them with that fullness cue. It's really important that you are implementing these mindfulness habits in between eating your meals so that you are telling your body that you're actually eating. Okay, now we're going to move to step 5. So we've gone over the mindfulness side of things, but step 5 is starting to increase gut-friendly habits gradually. Supporting the gut is not about doing everything perfectly overnight, and I never want you to feel as though your nutrition journey and your journey in general with your health has to be something you do perfectly overnight. It's about small, consistent changes. And I say that over and over and over again. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. So we want to focus on increasing fiber gradually, aiming for 25 to 35 grams per day. Okay. Increasing plant diversity. So aim for 20 to 30 different plant foods per week. All right. That sounds like a lot, but if you download my gut guide, which is in the show notes below, it kind of goes over these things for you and shows you how you can incorporate 30 different plants per week. It's not as insane as it sounds, I promise. Hydration, okay, so aiming for 1.5 to 2 liters, maybe a little bit more in a day if you're more active. And then movement. Walking supports gut motility, and then strength training as well is great for the muscles in general and helps with every process in the body. But just general walking and movement really does support your gut motility. And then sleep. Sleep supports hormone balance and appetite regulation because it's where you are recovering. When you sleep and you get a full night's sleep, your body is recharging, just like when you charge your phone or in some cases your car. You're not going to be able to move if the battery's low. And so your body needs that sleep to help with hormone balance, to help with appetite regulation, to help with your gut microbiome and your gut health and your brain health and every function in your body. We also need to focus on stress support as well. It's really important that we're not getting too stressed day to day. Like, yes, we're going to have our general stresses that we come across, but if every moment of every day is stressed, it's important you find ways to support that, whether that's through breath work, whether that's through having time outside, reducing overstimulation, creating more pauses in your day. You know, no one told you had to sit at your desk and eat lunch and just push through. That was your choice. You need to actually get yourself away from that space and eat your meal outside or go for a walk or do something. Like, do not be a hero and work through, because I have seen with my own eyes and helped women on the other side of that. I have had women come to me in their 60s who used to work their asses off. And yes, they earned great money and they did great things, but the one thing they regret is not focusing on their health a little bit more alongside that and saying no a little bit more and setting more boundaries. Because there was this one woman in particular, and I'll never forget, she had a stroke. She had a stroke from overworking and not looking after her health. She pushed through, and she pushed. Yes, she did great things in her career, but now she has to live with the fact that she's had a stroke and she is on the recovery from that. Thank goodness she came through and she's on the other side of things and she's, able to start exercising again and she's focusing on nutrition, but she did not slow down. She kept pushing herself, and that's what happened. And that's just one story of many. When someone does not rest, they just keep going. And it goes back to that classic saying of learn when to rest, not quit. If you take more time throughout the week to repair and recover, you're actually going to be able to give more. You give better quality. And we're all about quality over quantity. So if you want quality work, rather than just getting that quantity out, you need to take time and look after yourself. Your gut will definitely let you know about it too, because your gut thrives on consistency. It thrives on diversity and nourishment. And if it's not feeling that great, you're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel sick. You're going to feel unlike yourself. You're going to feel fatigued, low in energy, lethargic. You're going to find it hard to move, feel inflamed. That is your body communicating with you that it's not happy. So it's your job to tune in and listen to that. All right. So yes, we need to focus on the fiber, increasing the plant diversity, increasing the hydration, movement, sleep, but we also equally need to focus on our stress support tools. Okay. And I always give lots of stress support tools in the podcast. So make sure you tune into other episodes and listen to the energy series as well, especially if that is something you're wanting to focus on for the rest of this year, is building better energy. I highly recommend you go and listen to that series, starting with episode 1. Okay, moving on to step 6. So check whether your body is ready for a fat loss phase. Signs that your body may need support first are if you're still feeling constantly fatigued, you still have strong sugar cravings, you have frequent bloating, poor digestion, constipation, irregular menstrual cycles, poor recovery from exercise, you're feeling overwhelmed by food decisions, you're feeling all or nothing around food. If the body is already stressed, pushing harder can increase stress further. Sometimes the more productive step is restoring balance first. So going back to step 1 and then following all the way down to step 6 again. Checking in, tuning in, asking your body, is it ready for this next phase? Because the fat loss phase is hard. It can be hard. I'm not going to lie. When your energy improves, when your digestion improves, when hunger signals feel more stable, fat loss often actually feels easier. Okay? It feels like you can actually achieve it because you've given your body a really good baseline. You've given your body the foundations and the support that it needs. So work on those foundations first. All right, step 1 to 6. And if you're still not feeling the greatest, then you might need more time to build your gut health, to improve your muscles by strength training and moving more, or even just focusing on eating balanced meals or your stress management. Get those things in a really good place and then get yourself ready to go for it, okay? Which brings me to step 7, and that is using tracking as a tool, not a rule. So tracking can be helpful for awareness, structure, education, protein intake, fiber intake, portion understanding, but tracking should not feel obsessive, stressful, restrictive, and all-consuming. Tracking is a tool. It's not your identity. It's not your worth. It's not your success metric. And biofeedback also matters. You know, you can ask yourself, do I feel energized? Am I recovering well? Am I feeling strong? Am I sleeping well? Is my digestion improving? Because remember, as I always say, the goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. I also just want to remind you all that before we had the nutritional science that we have today, most people ate 2 to 3 meals a day and, walked everywhere, moved their body and were really active in general. And never once did they ever worry about tracking a calorie or having to make sure that every meal was tracked. But the world we live in today is a world full of food noise. Every corner you turn, there is a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Pizza Hut, a Domino's, a KFC, some kind of fast food. Then you have all the smaller joints like takeaway bars and kebab shops and all of these, dairies. If you're in New Zealand, we call them dairies. You might call them convenience stores if you're from other places in the world. But everywhere you go, there is food noise. It's in your face. No matter where you are, you can stop somewhere and get something. Gas stations filled with junk food, and now you've got gas stations that are open 24/7 and they're selling fried food and pies and sausage rolls and all sorts of processed meat and food and things like that 24/7. So it's no wonder we now have to have these tools in place in today's world to help us to stay healthy, because there is just so much option and so much choice around, especially in the West. In the Western world, we are overfed, we're underactive, and we're the most unhealthiest we've ever been. So the reason why things like calorie tracking have been put in place is literally to understand the unit of measurement when it comes to certain foods, like calories per gram of protein, carbs, and fats. So for example, a protein, for example, is 4 calories per 1 gram of protein. Fats is 9 calories per 1 gram of fat. So, it's a unit of measurement and it's a tool, and it's helpful for us, especially if someone is, so unsure as to why the food they're eating is not giving them the results they want, or they're eating healthy and they're not quite seeing results. It's generally the energy density of the foods that they're eating as to why they're not. But just remember that it is possible to see results and not have to track every single thing you do. You don't need to get obsessive over it. We use it as a tool. It can be a great tool for someone to understand their portion control, and they are intuitive after they've done that for a couple of weeks. I have some clients that love to track and they have a really healthy mindset around it, and that's great. It works for them. And then I have some, especially my mum clients, who are like, I don't have time for that. Just tell me the types of foods I should be trying to eat every day. I'm going to follow that and prioritize on my exercise routine. Because the idea of having to track calories just adds one more thing to my already insanely busy load. most mums with young kids, that is, and fair enough, I feel that too. If I'm ever needing to, track, or I wanted to lean out or something, I might track for a week or two and then I'm straight back to intuitive eating. But the food that I'm eating is nutrient dense, it's quality, it's wholesome, it keeps me full. I honestly can't remember the last time I tracked a calorie. It might have been last year when I did like a little mini cut phase or something, but I barely do that because I've obviously working in nutrition, you understand food a lot more, so I have that, leverage. But what I'm saying is it's not the only way for you to see results. We have to realize that we're all built differently too. We're all unique. We all have our own unique set point. Not everyone has got a 5'10", figure with long legs and you're a model. Like, not everyone's built that way. Some people are 5'2" and more muscular or really petite. Like, we're all different. So it's important that we acknowledge the beauty in our differences and we don't compare ourselves to others, and we're not trying to fit into someone else's standard or look like someone else. We need to ensure that we're aiming to feel the best in our own bodies, minds as well, and soul. Okay? So using tracking as a tool, not a rule, is step 7. And we only move on to step 7 if we feel we're ready for step 7. Okay, and it's always really important that if you are going to do a fat loss phase, you actually reach out for help and know what you're doing. Understand the deficit you need to be in. Understand the importance of the reverse diet. That's a really important step that a lot of people miss. Understand the importance of what's going to happen to your body when you are trying to change the composition, how you can feel quite low in energy sometimes, and you do feel hungry, and it's not always the funnest time. Okay, so do make sure if you're going to do that, don't guess your way through it. You save yourself so much time and energy and even money by actually reaching out for help first. Okay, but hopefully this podcast has given you some actionable steps to help you to get your body in a good place, to help you to really set those foundations, and also to how to structure your nutrition before you enter a fat loss phase. And if a fat loss phase isn't your goal, well, hopefully you've learned some great tips and tools about nutrition in general. I really want you to remember this. Your body is not a problem to fix. It is a system to support. And when the gut feels supported, when meals are consistent, when the body feels nourished, when stress is managed, fat loss can feel more achievable. But more importantly, health becomes more sustainable, because the goal is not just short-term results. The goal is a body that feels strong, energized, resilient, and well for life. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this podcast episode. If this episode has helped you, it maybe has turned on a few light bulbs and you're feeling like, wow, okay, I've never looked at fat loss that way before. I've always just chucked myself straight on my fitness pal and into a calorie deficit. And if it's really helped you, then please do give me a 5-star review, because it really does help this little podcast emerge its way out there. She's only small. She's only just started, but the more views and the more stars that I get, the better it is for more people to just come across the podcast naturally. So I do appreciate the time that you take to do that. And if you need to share this episode with someone else because you have a friend that is confused about nutrition or is wanting to start a fat loss phase or is talk to you about different diets and dieting and feeling stuck, then perhaps send them this episode as well. But as always, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're amazing. And until the next podcast, I look forward to having you listen in again. Have the best day, evening, morning, whenever it is that you're listening, and keep going for it. Keep striving. Keep going hard. Keep prioritizing your health. Remember, we're after consistency, not perfection. Thanks for listening to the Well Body Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review or share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can find more support, resources, and information on my website at www.beyondthebody.co. Until next time, I look forward to having you in the next episode.